Saints, Asaph was one of the chief musicians under David's reign, and a few of the Psalms are attributed to him. My favorite is Psalm 77. I've preached on it 1,001 times over the years, and it's one of the lectionary readings for the weekend. Asaph says, I will cry aloud to God. I will cry aloud, and he will hear me. In the day of my trouble I sought the Lord. My hands were stretched out by night and by day, and did not tire. My soul refused to be comforted. That got my attention the very first time I read it. My soul refused to be comforted. He goes on to say, I will remember the works of the Lord and call to mind your wonders of old time. I will meditate on all your acts and ponder your mighty deeds. Your way, O God, is holy. Who is so great as God, as our God? You are the God who works wonders and have declared your power among the peoples. By your strength you've redeemed your people, the children of Jacob and Joseph. The waters saw you, O God. The waters saw you and trembled. The very depths were shaken. The clouds poured out water. The skies thundered. Your arrows flashed to and fro. The sound of your thunder was in the whirlwind. Your lightnings lit up the world. The earth trembled and shook. Your way was in the sea, and your paths in the great waters. Yet your footsteps were not seen. You led your people like a flock by the hand of Moses and Aaron. Now, clearly, Asaph is recalling the most pivotal event in Old Covenant history, and that is the Exodus event. It is the great deliverance. It is the equivalent of what happens ultimately at Passover when Christ is crucified for us. But the fact that Asaph begins with, he lifted his hands and stretched them out day and night without weariness, because his soul refused to be comforted, tells us that he's in a pretty tough place, and he's wrestling with a God who's done all these mighty miracles, but he can't find him in the present moment. And so his personal struggle and distress frames everything that causes him to cry out, and he's determined that his voice will not go unheard by this God who works wonders. And he refuses simple comforts and easy answers, because what he seeks isn't mere relief. He wants the deeper assurance of God's divine presence, and we are a people of the presence. In these kinds of moments, Asaph is exemplifying what authentic honesty is all about in our spiritual journey. He's reminding us that sometimes our deepest breakthroughs come precisely from our willingness to refuse shallow comforts. Genuine comfort, real healing, is found in God's presence, not in easy escapes. And he takes his time to unfold what he's processing. At first, he's quite unsettled. He reaches outward. His hands are stretched toward heaven, and he's got a restless intensity. And yet, even in his exhaustion, he remains vigilant and unwilling to settle for anything less than God himself, the manifest presence. His soul knows intuitively what we often forget. There's no substitute for God's authentic presence. No genuine peace outside an encounter with the one who made us. Then comes this turning point. He shifts his gaze from his personal anguish to remembrance. He specifically recalls God's wonders and mighty acts from Egypt through the Red Sea into the wilderness. And he meditates on what God has already done, because the God who did it before can do it again. And he carefully revisits and retells the stories of how God showed up and performed miracles, deliverance, and the hidden insight comes out really clearly. When you and I find ourselves troubled, anxious, unable to find rest, our memory becomes sacred ground. Again, Walter Brueggemann, energizing memories, radical hopes. Remembrance anchors us again in the larger narrative of God's faithfulness. And while Asaph is recalling the wonders God has worked, he rediscovers a very crucial truth. God's holiness and God's sovereignty extend far beyond our immediate circumstances. Who is so great a God as our God, is what Asaph asks. That's a rhetorical question, and it pulls him and it pulls us out of our own limited perspectives into a broader, deeper range of vision. Remembering God's holiness moves us beyond narrow self-focus and toward an expansive trust rooted in God's greatness. The psalm never reaches deeper into mystery. God's power is vividly described through imagery of the waters trembling, seeing God. That's the Red Sea. The waters saw thee, O God, and backed up. When Moses lifts that staff, the waters saw God. Clouds were thundering, lightning illuminated the sky, and the earth was shaking. And so he's telling us that there's this encounter, this divine encounter that is not simply comforting. When God shows up, it can be overwhelming. And the footsteps of God remain hidden. If you've ever been on a lake or on the ocean and you're in a boat and there's a boat ahead of you and it speeds up, at some point the wake of the boat disappears and you don't know where that boat is. Well, God's ways are in the sea and his footprints can't be known. His paths are certain, but they're hidden beneath the waves of uncertainty. We're reminded that faith calls us to trust precisely when the way forward isn't clear. Asaph is providing us perhaps the deepest insight of all. Even though God's footprints may remain hidden beneath turbulent waters, his presence is never absent. The shepherd leads his flock by unseen yet trustworthy hands. Just as he guided Israel through Moses and Aaron, the hidden pathways beneath the stormy waters we face, the silent footsteps beneath our chaos, remind us that he is at work quietly and invisibly within the complexities of life we all face. And so, when we journey through seasons of trouble, moments when God's ways seem obscured by turmoil and confusion, we're invited to remember. We recall not only our own personal moments of deliverance, but the greater story of God's unchanging faithfulness. When we do, we once again find the courage to trust the one who guides us invisibly, unfailingly, by his presence. As we reflect on Asaph's words today by the work of the Spirit who inspires the text, I want you to remember the sacredness of honest doubt and questioning, and the power of faithful remembrance, and the quiet strength of trusting the hidden paths of God. Even when our present circumstances seem uncertain, remember the God who is ordering our steps faithfully, invisibly, and lovingly through every storm we navigate.